A $99 DNA test on a consumer website was about to expose a $4.2 million fraud. She was only looking for her family. She had no idea what was waiting.
Edmund Hargrove, 74, a reclusive real estate millionaire with no documented family, had vanished from his Columbus, Ohio home. Within 11 months, every dollar of his $4.2 million estate had been legally claimed by a stranger.
A man appeared with paperwork and a story that convinced an entire probate court he was Edmund's long-lost son. But if that story was true, why had no one, anywhere, ever heard his name before?
Ink witness. True crime. Drawn in the dark.
Edmund Hargrove spent decades building wealth in Ohio real estate and spending almost none of it. He had no social media presence, no club memberships, and no listed next of kin. Just a quiet life and a very large account balance.
In March 2019, a neighbor noticed Edmund's mail had not moved in 2 weeks. A wellness check found his home locked but empty, no evidence of disturbance, no note, nothing out of place except the man himself.
Local authorities opened a missing persons file. With no family contacts and no witnesses, the case progressed slowly. Edmund Hargrove had simply vanished into the same quiet he had always preferred.
6 weeks after Edmund was reported missing, a man named Craig Whitfield walked into the office of estate attorney Patricia Morrow in Columbus. He was calm, well-dressed, and carrying a thick folder. He said Edmund Hargrove was his father.
Craig's paperwork was extraordinary: a birth certificate, elementary school enrollment papers, 2 aged photographs, and a notarized letter from Edmund himself dated 1996 acknowledging the child. The attorney had rarely seen anything so complete.
With no other claimants, no will on file, and what appeared to be solid evidence of a biological heir, probate proceedings began. Ohio courts followed standard procedure. No one ordered a DNA test. That was not required by law.
In February 2020, Craig Whitfield was awarded full rights to Edmund Hargrove's estate. The transfer value: $4.2 million in property, investments, and liquid assets. He signed the papers and walked out into morning sunlight.
Craig sold 2 Columbus properties within 90 days and relocated to Miami. He leased a penthouse, purchased a boat, and appeared at charity events. He showed no sign of concern whatsoever.
Simone Reed was 31 and had spent her entire life knowing one basic fact. She had been placed in foster care as an infant, and her biological origins were a complete blank page.
In November 2021, Simone spent $99 on a family trace DNA kit after seeing an advertisement online. She swabbed her cheek, sealed the envelope, and mailed it with modest expectations.
3 weeks later, Family Trace flagged out her results with a first-degree relative alert, the highest match level the platform recognized. The matching profile had been submitted to the system by an Ohio estate attorney during probate proceedings 2 years prior.
The match pointed to Edmund Hargrove as her biological father. According to the records attached to his estate profile, his entire $4.2 million fortune had already been transferred to a man named Craig Whitfield.
Simone hired a genealogy attorney who specialized in estate disputes. Within 2 weeks, they had obtained the full probate file for Edmund Hargrove. Craig Whitfield's name was on every document, and Simsoon's was on none of them.
The attorney's investigator examined Craig's birth certificate and found 2 impossible facts. The hospital listed as the issuing facility had been demolished in 1987, 4 years before Craig's claimed birth year, and the paper stock used a digital laser print format that did not exist until 1998.
Investigators traced the document templates to a 2016 data breach at the Ohio Historical Records Archive. Over 40,000 digitized historical documents had been accessed. Someone had used real formatting from real records to construct an entirely false identity.
In August 2022, at the request of the Ohio Attorney General's office, Craig submitted to a forensic DNA comparison test. He agreed without hesitation, a detail investigators would later note as significant.
The forensic results were absolute. Craig Whitfield shared no biological markers with Edmund Hargrove, zero familial connection of any kind. Simone Reed, tested separately, was confirmed as a first-degree biological match.
A federal warrant was issued. Investigators located Craig at his Miami penthouse in January 2023. Inside the apartment, they found shredded paperwork, a secondary passport, and materials consistent with the construction of multiple false identities.
Craig Whitfield was not his legal name. Forensic document analysis identified him as Marcus Dean, with confirmed prior identities in Georgia, Illinois, and Nevada. This was not his first attempt.
Prosecutors reconstructed his approach over months of investigation. Marcus had monitored estate listings and missing persons reports, specifically targeting elderly men of means with no documented living relatives. Edmund Hargrove had fit the profile precisely.
Edmund Hargrove was located in April 2023 in a small memory care facility in rural Tennessee. He had wandered from his home during an episode consistent with early-stage dementia and been admitted under a misspelled variation of his name. He had been there for nearly 2 years.
Simone made the drive to Tennessee the same week. Edmund did not recognize her, and his condition had advanced considerably. But she sat with him for 3 hours that first afternoon. She has returned every week since.
Marcus Dean faced charges of probate fraud, identity theft, and fraudulent misrepresentation. The prosecution's central evidence was a match from a $99 consumer genealogy platform, the same tool that had done what 11 months of court proceedings never required.
In September 2023, Marcus Dean was found guilty on all counts. The court sentenced him to 14 years. Every dollar of the $4.2 million estate was ordered recovered and returned to Edmund Hargrove's confirmed biological heir.
Simone Reed became the legal heir to her father's estate at 33 years old. She used a portion of the recovered funds to secure Edmund's ongoing care and relocated closer to his Tennessee facility. For the first time in her life, she knew where she came from.
Marcus Dean's fraud survived 11 months of probate review on a birth certificate from a hospital demolished years before the date on the document, then a $99 DNA test unraveled it in 3 weeks. Should biological verification be mandatory in all inheritance claims, and if it had been standard in Ohio, would Edmund Hargrove have spent 2 years missing while his estate was taken? Leave your answer in the comments.